This is part of being live, guys. This stuff. Part of being live, guys. Oh, it's up. It's loud and clear. All right, everyone. Welcome back officially to the 3 of 7 podcast. If you're watching live, you're going to have to go after this is over and listen to the audio version if you want to hear the bonus conversation that went on before our tech guy could go live. And okay, our tech guy is now really full of himself because there was a video that released on YouTube just last week about a day on the range where the tech guy made his debut on video and he crushed everyone on the range. And then I went back and read through the comments and everybody saying, the tech guy is so awesome. The tech guy needs to put out more content. Was the tech guy a Navy SEAL? Was it all this about the tech guy? And so now he has went and created his own video on the YouTube channel. His first.
You lucky I didn't start my own channel.
Solo. Yeah, exactly. So now he's really full of himself this morning. But we've sat here now for the last 10 minutes. Waiting for him to do his job so that we could start this podcast.
Hey, look, man, when you show up and you hit record and you say, what, we ain't live?
If you want to hear the first 10 minutes of the conversation, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll have to go back after I post this on audio.
Dude, your eyes are so puffed up, I can't even take you serious right now.
Well, guys,
if you keep talking to him that way, I'll leave.
I'm glad.
Thank you, Chili.
I'm glad you're here. I want to start this podcast off not talking about what we just did, which we'll get into here in a little bit. I want to start this podcast off by thanking every one of you guys that watch and listen to this podcast, because let me tell you what has happened. A week ago, we put out the information for the Rite of Passage, the ROP course, okay? I have had hundreds of people roger up to participate in that training. I have like, I don't even know how many emails, but I have a bunch in the inbox. You guys have sent in your application. You've rogered up. You're committed to training. And you have no idea how much that means to me. And let me tell you what I get out of that. We spend a lot of time doing this show right here every week. And the fact that we can put out a training mission or a challenge to you guys, and then you respond the way that you respond, tells me that we are doing this podcast and putting out this information to people that matter, to people that want to get better, to people that want a challenge. And this is reaching the right type of people. And that really inspires me. It makes me want to do this show. Because here's the thing, when I first called Chili and said, hey man, what do you think about this Rite of Passage training? He said, man, I love it, but it's going to scare a lot of people off. He said, you can put it out, but there's probably not a lot of people gonna roger up for something like this. And I thought the same thing. But the overwhelming response that we see from you guys, the listeners, is just it makes me want to keep doing what we do. It really does, because it tells me we're reaching the right people. Now, that being said, probably 10,000 people have listened to that episode about the ROP course. Probably 200 have applied. Maybe plus or minus. I don't know the exact number. That's 2%. If we're at 200. Isn't that 2%, Chili?
I didn't pay attention to the numbers you said.
10,000, 200 of 10,000, that's 2%, right?
Yeah.
So if you applied, you're part of the 2% of people that I do this podcast for. All right? The people who come to the 3 of 7 podcast purely for entertainment, that's fine because this is an entertaining show. But I don't really freaking care about you. Just to be honest with you. I care about the people who are here to share, listen, learn, grow, push. I'm not a freaking entertainer. I just want to thank you guys. That's what I wanted to start this show off with because I talked to Noah about it on the way down as I saw the applications rolling in. I said, man, this is really freaking awesome. Because there ain't nothing easy about that block of training. The rite of passage. It's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be real hard. And to see you guys roger up for it. I don't know. Does that make you guys feel good as it makes me feel?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, it would be interesting. You would really have to examine yourself if we did all this and put out training and you know, put effort into it and then nobody wanted to ever do it. It would be, I mean, that would reflect more on us than the people.
Yeah,
listening.
it's like what type of people are we drawing?
Well,
yeah.
and like why is what we're putting out not interesting anybody? Like that's, you know, what's the, you know, you would have to look at yourself for that. But I mean, when there is that much interest in, that's pretty awesome.
I'm so pumped about that course, man.
Me too. I think. Yeah, I wish there were more dates in 2023.
I know. So that being said, thank you guys. I love you. Okay.
Introduce people who you're talking about here.
Okay. We have a special guest on the podcast, Noah Bunch. We're going to call Noah NB because I've started calling Jonah JB. You guys may have heard Jonah Bunch on the podcast a while back. Jonah's a good friend of ours and has been through the Proving Grounds. We met him there. Then Jonah did the paddle mission, and we just became close friends. And Noah is Jonah's younger brother. And Noah, about 2 months ago, about 2 months ago, NB was out volunteering for the 3-7 Project Trail Race. And we got done with the race, and we were all just hanging out at the house afterwards. And I said, hey, MB, I got a bicycle race coming up in 2 months. You should sign up for it and do it with me. And he didn't even have a bicycle.
Yeah, didn't even own one.
Really?
Yep, didn't own a bike.
I thought you'd already been riding. I thought that's why you were interested.
Oh, no.
I thought you were into it.
No.
And I went and bought a bike.
What the what?
So 2 months ago, NB went out and bought a bicycle.
Yep.
Started training. He had, 8 weeks to train.
Yeah.
Bought all of his bags, his equipment, and came out and did this mountain bike.
What's funny, it sounds like he trained more than you on 8 weeks and you had 8 months.
Oh, he did 100%. When we got out to this event, all right, I was like, man, I hadn't rode this bike. The last person that rode this bike was NB's brother, JB. And that was about 2 months ago. And Noah was like, you hadn't been training? I was like, no, man, I haven't rode this thing at all. Hadn't rode it at all.
Well, you fought like you trained, didn't you?
Oh, man. Hey, what you guys, if you're wondering what we're talking about, for the last 4 days, we have been out on a epic journey. There's a route in Central Florida, a mountain biking route that was created by a pretty cool individual named Carlos.
Carlos, yeah.
And Carlos has created this route around Central Florida, and it's a 364.5 mile looped course on a mountain bike. And he hosts this event every year, and people show up and ride this course, and it was unbelievable. And let me start off by telling you guys, are you okay back there, Blake? Let me start off by telling you guys that I severely underestimated the difficulty of this event. Severely underestimated it.
Yeah, it wasn't no joke. No.
So I thought I was going to, when I signed up for this thing, I thought, this will be a fun little thing to do, to go explore Central Florida. But I wasn't taking it seriously at all. And let me tell you something about this event. You could go as hard as you wanted to go on this thing, and you could have broke yourself off on this darn event. It was hard enough just finishing it. Mm-hmm. And if you would have been one of the front runners that was actually racing it, there's a guy that finished this course this year in 28 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, 28.
28 hours.
Yeah, I can verify that.
That's I can't even fathom that, dude. Like, after riding
Chad, dude, you literally thought you were going to kill this because you told me. You said, I'm going to take the mountain biking world by storm, son. That's what you told me that 4 months ago. Because you're an idiot.
Oh, yeah, I was an idiot.
But no kidding, man. Who didn't know you were an idiot? You'd never ride.
I didn't know I was an idiot.
I mean, what's wrong with somebody who literally thinks that? A dude beat you by 50 hours.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, man. Like, after doing that race, when Noah said, "Oh, the leader finished it in 28 hours," I was like, I literally can't comprehend that. After knowing the ground that he covered.
Yeah, just thinking about it, it's like, there's no way. I mean, I don't even see how he did it. I don't understand how it's, I don't know.
Well, also a nod to him is you know, you may be tempted to say somebody that finished the course that fast, that took you that long. Well, man, did he do the right route and everything? Well, I tried to track you guys.
Well, Noah lost his tracker on the second day.
Okay, well on the very first day, like a few hours in, I went into the tracking and saw some guy was already like, I mean, destroying. I was like, good grief. Yeah. But you could track everywhere he went. Oh, he 100% did the course.
Oh, yeah.
But you know who I didn't track? Chad Wright or Noah Bunch. Neither one the whole time had any tracking. And I'm like, well, I know this guy who did it in 28 hours definitely did it, but I don't know about them. I think they just went around and stayed around the park and just stayed out there for 3 days.
We were ghosts out there.
I will tell you, we did the course.
Well, tell me why the tracking went out.
On the honor system, we did the course, but...
we've got the GPS files to show.
Yeah, we've got the GPS files personally to show, but the reason... Okay, so the tracking on the race, what's cool about this race, and by the way, for you guys listening, thinking, well, this is a ridiculous conversation because I'll never be able to do something like this race. I want to tell you, one of the cool things about this race is it's not like ultra running in terms of how it beats your body up in a different way. The cool thing about this event, this long bike ride, is I truly believe that I'm not going to say anybody. Obviously, if you don't have legs or something, you can't do this event.
Some people don't.
Yeah, exactly. So anybody who is complete physically and isn't missing limbs and stuff, they could, with minimal training, could do this thing slowly. All right? Anybody, because it's no impact, right? It's just pedaling. So this is an awesome challenge, even for you big fat fatties that watch the show. This is something that even you could attempt at some point, okay? Now, the event is very grassroots. In other words, you've got a couple of guys that are actually racing in the front. The rest of the people are just out there to do the course like me and Noah and be vagrants. And the race director basically is like, hey, you should get a tracking device, but if you don't want one, just call me when you get off the course so I can cross you off my list. And you show up to a picnic table the day before the race for race registration, and it's Carlos, and he's got a pad of paper, and he's like, write your name and your phone number down on this pad of paper. And like,
that's it.
That's registration. It's awesome, dude. It's freaking awesome. Well, Noah actually signed up to get a tracker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did. He had one. I didn't. The first day of the race, you get up in the morning, and let me tell you, I felt goofy as crap.
You should have.
One of the most I told Noah, the most difficult part of this event for me was showing up and putting myself in an environment where I was the new guy, where I just looked silly. Because there was a dude camping beside us that this is what he does. And like you looked at his bike, he did the whole race with a single speed bike. Mm-hmm. No gears. And he's lean and mean, dude. And here I am. My bike looks like a freaking homeless grocery cart. And so that was difficult. The first day when I'm on the line with all these guys that this is what they do, and I have to humble myself and be like, I'm just a nobody. I don't know what the crap I'm doing here. I have a all new gear. You can tell it's never been used before. And like, that's just the whole first part of the event. I'm riding down this trail and I just feel like a goofball. Like I'm a guy on a bicycle here. Like how hard, and I'm also thinking, how hard is this going to be? I was still in that phase where I wasn't taking it seriously.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm curious about with all this discussion. Both of you, I want to ask both of you if you'll both answer this, if you don't mind. Like, what are you thinking about going in? Because you've got ultra running experience.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, you feel like the new guy because it's riding. But like, what are you trying to do? I mean, like, what's the goal here? I mean, Noah, like, what is just to finish in one piece?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've never done any. He had done, ultra running, obviously. I haven't done any endurance events or anything like that. So my thing was just kind of like, hey, get out there, finish, and keep up with Chad. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But we didn't really have a plan going in, like, oh, we want to hit this point this day or this point. We were just trying to.
Oh, you mean you were riding with me and there was no plan?
Hey, yeah, no plan at
Well,
all.
I mean, like, what were you thinking going in? I mean, because you shouldn't feel whatever. I mean, if there's no real. I mean,
the goal for me was to explore Central Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Florida.
Yeah, me too.
And I like Florida more now.
Well, good.
That we saw what we saw. So the goal for me was just to explore Florida. But I also, there was a part of me that really wanted it to get hard because it's been a year since I've raced, but in the beginning, you start off and you're on these really groomed, nice single track trails, and you're going through all these areas where the trails are just, if you just wanted to go out on a day ride, like these trails would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just do some nice pine forest.
Yeah, they're groomed and they're rolling, and it's just not it just flows. Mm-hmm. You're just flowing through there, and I'm thinking for the first 30, 40, 50 miles even, like, well, I feel silly out here. I'm just a guy on a bicycle, and like this is never going to get that hard. I was sadly mistaken.
But like, that's confusing to me because if you're concerned about making it hard, well, ride harder. I mean, keep up with the dude who did it in 28 hours.
And so that's the thing, because there is a skills element in this. Although those trails were nice and flowing and stuff, like our skill on the bike, especially loaded down, because our skills were so low, it didn't allow us to ride harder. Like it didn't allow you to ride hard enough to actually keep up with those guys. It didn't have to do with fitness. It had to do with skills.
Yeah.
Like the trail's this wide, right? And you're going over rocks and roots and trees this close, and Noah's freaking crashing out like every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like there's one point we're 15 miles in, and he's behind me, and I just hear something just hit the freaking ground, dude. I mean hard. And then I hear all the riders that were behind him go, ooh, gosh, like, oh, he got the wind knocked out of him. And so that's the thing. That's why you couldn't just simply ride harder to make that section hard unless you had the skills enough to move through that terrain fast enough.
So is it super technical? I mean, is it like
the first section was?
Yeah, we were loaded down, like you said, with all
Right,
that weight.
right.
The guys in the front, they were carrying nothing.
I'm sure. I mean, if
They
you
were just riding.
if you could do this in sub 30 hours, what would you need to carry other than just, I mean, a bare, you could just put it on your back, like a very light back, you know.
Well, there's enough there, and there's enough places on the course that you can resupply.
Yeah, you wouldn't need nothing.
Yeah, if
A water bottle. I mean,
exactly.
That's what they were doing. They were just
not
carrying anything.
Yeah. So I mean, that's very interesting. But again, like that comes back to your training.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You know,
Because there's a skill element to this.
Right.
With ultra running, there's no skill element to it. It's just
it's very minor if there's any.
It's just very little bit of running form, right?
Yeah.
But with this, there is a skills element, which if you wanted to push, you would have to build that skill.
Yeah.
For
yeah,
sure.
well, certainly. It's. I mean, mountain biking. It's a lot of skill.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
It
it's
is.
technical terrain, which I didn't know how much this course had. Like, you know, you can go over on some Pinhoti Trail type stuff and get all the technical you want. And I was like, well, surely it's not a lot of that, but I'm sure there is sections of it where like the routes and stuff are.
We had some good sections.
Oh yeah, there were some gnarly sections.
And it started out, like I said, had some technical stuff right off the bat there in the first 15 miles.
Justin Shealy said the fast guys carry a credit card and 2 water bottles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
He's exactly right.
At least if there's a
And by the
places to
way,
stop.
I want to give Justin Shealy a shout out because he is the one that got me into this. He's taught me everything that I know about this sport because there's not a lot of information out about this sport because it's so small. There's so few people doing this. Justin told me about this race. He told me that this sport even exists. I didn't even know it existed. And so thank you, Justin. Officially, thank you. Now, comparing this to ultra running, I wanted to put this out too, and then we'll go on throughout the rest of the first day. What I did like about this in comparison to ultra running, what I liked better about it is the amount of ground that you could cover in a push without any sort of resupply, right? So on the bike, the fact that you can easily cover 150 plus miles on the bike in a 24, probably a 18-hour period, even with low skills.
Well, some can.
And have everything that you need on the bike without any resupply. So I think that was the big thing that I like about this is you can see so much on the bike, whereas with ultra running, you have to have so many points to where you can refuel, resupply, and it takes so much longer to cover that amount of distance on foot. Mm-hmm. So that is one thing that I enjoyed about this, because part of my inspiration to do the race was to see that area and as much of it as I possibly could. So we got through all that single track stuff on the first day, and then the terrain completely changes, which is another thing I enjoyed about the race. The terrain changed, multiple times per day. And we got out of this single track and we got on these massive, just straight as far as the eye can see, packed limestone roads. So they're solid white, right? And you can just see slam over the horizon, a straight, and it's just up and down. And if you think there ain't hills in Florida, I did,
Come on, man.
I'm not talking about mountains. I'm talking about these hills that were just a gradient, a slight gradient.
For miles.
Dude,
I knew you'd start this crap.
They were.
It ain't the highest point in Florida is a dang hill, man. It's about 280 feet off the.
Have you ever been on top of Sugarloaf Mountain?
Yeah, what is a Sugarloaf Mountain?
Look, man. Look.
Hey, when the mountain's named after a loaf,
Hey, when you drive through on a bike, though.
Hey, I ain't gonna listen to you talk about how hilly it was. Talk about something else.
Hey,
Talk about how technical it was and sandy or something, because it wasn't freaking hilly, you sack of crap.
So we get on these long limestone stretches. Okay, it still hadn't really gotten hard yet.
Daggum fake phony fraud over there. Talking about how
It still hadn't really gotten hard yet. I'm just riding down these stretches, just being a joyful soul.
Day one still?
Yeah,
we're
day
day
one still. And when did it actually start to get hard on day one? Like like what was the point for you that you were like, okay, this might be legit?
So I kind of started feeling a little weird. So we stopped probably about 45 miles in for lunch. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so I ate lunch, and then after that, we started hitting some real sandy stuff, and my stomach started getting that's when I started getting a little weird feeling. Because I mean, I'm not used to going out here and busting it, and I mean, going for long periods of times like that. And that's when I was kind of like, I don't know how my body's trying to hold up to all this. Like, and that's still early, but like physically wise, I was feeling good. I was just feeling a little rough.
Yeah, you were battling those stomach issues pretty early. So
yeah, real early.
It might have started. Yeah, it started getting a little tough for Noah before it did for me. I was still feeling good.
Yeah.
I think going on through the first day, we got through all them stretches of limestone fire road, and really where it started, I started to think, okay, this might be legit. Is probably around the 80 to 90 mile mark, and the sun set, and it got cold as mess, and
you'd gotten hot.
Well, we'd hit the ghost trail just right before the sun came down.
Oh, yep. So that's it.
When
that's it.
That's when I was like, this is a legit race.
Yep.
So there was a section called the Ghost Trail, and you actually had an option to bypass it. And from what we talked to, I'd say about 80% of people bypassed it. Huh. But it added, supposedly supposed to take off like 3 hours of your time. And so we rolled on through it there, son. But there wasn't a trail, is why it was called the Ghost Trail. It was essentially traversing, I think it was about 5 or 6 miles of just wilderness.
Wow.
I mean, it was hiker bike most of the time. You're taking your bike,
Yeah,
fall down trees. You're just picking up over it, going through swamps and water.
So was this if you bypassed that, was that the light version, or is that another thing?
No, so that you could bypass it on the full version, but if you did the ghost trail, whatever your final time was, you subtract 3 hours from your final time.
Okay.
So that's how that worked.
The light version, they bypassed a lot of the like single track stuff.
Okay.
They were
Yeah,
just
the
hitting
light
gravel.
version was gravel,
Okay.
basically. And so, yeah, we hit the ghost trail. We're in there. We're in on this trail, and these bikes are heavy when you got them loaded out. And it's just literally blow down after blow down. No trail. You're just navving through this whole section. Water, freaking wet as crap. Swamps of Florida.
Yeah.
And it starts to get dark in there. And that's when I realized, like, no kidding, I was like, there was a moment as the sun was setting and we're still in this trail. And I'm like, we don't want to get caught back in here in the dark, because it would be almost impossible to nav back in there if you couldn't see where you were going.
And we got out of there just in time when it started getting dark. But I tell you a funny story. Right when we were rolling through there, we probably had a mile left in the ghost trail. Like I said, we've just been traveling, navigating through this, and we kind of look over to the left. There's like some lake and little body of waters. And there's this woman. She's sludging her bike through this water. She's at least waist deep over in the middle of this lake. And we're like over here. We're looking across here just sludging that bike through that.
What was that?
She got a little off route.
Well, so that's what I was wondering. Like, this section here on the ghost trail, you're talking about it being wet. I mean, yeah, it's Florida, everything's wet, but is it up to your knees? I mean, like, are you going, or what? How much water is it?
If you stayed on the actual route, yeah, the deepest water would be probably knee deep. Mm-hmm. But this lady had gotten slammed off the route. And she's literally across the lake, like he said, walking through flooded grass, waist deep. And
that's not smart.
No. And
I mean, that could get deeper than she thinks quick, and then
But
That's stupid.
yeah, a lot of the I wondered you kind of figure out that obviously the dudes that do this often, they have good backcountry skills and they have good navigational skills. But there are a lot of people that did this event that don't have those skills. There a lot of people that come over from like road biking and doing time trials and races to this as they get older and they want to transition into something a little slower and not as competitive, just to be able to do the race, and you don't have to actually be in the front. And so I think, a lot of people, and if you didn't have good nav skills on that ghost trail, yeah, you would wind up somewhere just like this lady did. And so, yeah, that was funny seeing her over there. And we pop out right as the sun starts to set, right? And then we still got a long push to get to that shelter, because you had to go. We hit some road. We took it up to a store, which was a checkpoint.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's checkpoints along this route where you have to take a picture with yourself at the checkpoint in order to actually, if you're actually racing.
To count.
Yeah, it has to have a timestamp, and you have to have a photo with yourself at these certain points to show that you actually hit all the points, right? Mm-hmm. So we made it there. There were a bunch of other competitors there at the store at the same time we got there, and they were going just right up the road to a campground to camp, because at this point it's probably 10, maybe 10 at night, 9 or 10 at night.
Yeah, probably 80 miles in or something like that.
Yeah, and we got intel that there was a shelter at mile 106. Just a primitive shelter on the Florida Trail, like a backpacker shelter, right?
Yeah, it was back in the Seminole National Forest or something.
So we also heard there was going to be a party at the shelter that night.
That Carlos, the director, was putting on.
Oh.
Yeah. So Noah and I, MB and I, made up our mind that we were going to go ahead and push to that shelter.
Yeah, I know you like to party. I don't know about NB, but
so we wanted to get there. And so we did it. We pushed all the way through 106 miles on our first day of the race. My longest bike ride prior to this was
5-6 miles.
No, from the ride I do from here to town. What is that? 25, 26 miles. Was my longest bike ride. So first day I quadrupled my mountain bike riding PR.
How much of that was at night? Needing a headlamp and everything.
We ended up getting to the shelter at 12:30.
12:30, so
midnight.
So a few hours.
5 or 6 hours.
So how's that? Is that difficult?
I enjoyed the night ride.
This guy, that's the only time he could ride. MB's useless from 10 a.m. to sundown. When the sun goes down, he has a night gear. And all of a sudden, he can ride as fast as me.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So his night riding was awesome.
See, we hit some road, and then we got on that single track through that, I don't remember that forest, that kind of sandy single track. We rode through that throughout the night.
Yeah.
That was a good ride, yeah.
Yeah, so we get to the shelter. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we get to where we think the shelter was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's a check-in station for the game warden, and nobody's there.
We're like that.
And we're pretty beat by this point. We're done. We're ready to bed down. The shelter is showing on my GPS off route. Well, between us and where the shelter's showing on the GPS, there's a long, maybe a mile, sand, pure soft sand. You can't ride in that.
No.
That was one of the most challenging sections is when you would hit that sand. And so me and MB were like, boy, this little check-in station right here looks awful appealing. Like, we're ready to stop. And I was like, nah, let's just walk down this sandy road and see if we can find this shelter. And sure enough, we trudged down that sandy road, and there's the party, son. And it was a good party.
Yeah, we showed up. They had a campfire rolling, people sitting around the fire.
They had cold beer. They had cold fried chicken tenders.
Cold fried chicken.
Cold fried chicken.
And
Speaking of fried chicken,
we rolled up into that joint.
I need to eat my Cajun fillet.
We rolled up. Oh, son, I was so looking for a Bojangles on course.
He was like, I can't wait till we run into a Bojangles.
It's bow time.
It's bow time, son. We roll up into this shelter, man. 12:30. We sit down on the picnic table, and man, I get right into the party, son.
Yeah, he does.
I'm right into the party.
Old sot.
NB.
I'm zonked out.
NB sits on the picnic table and he looked like a zombie, son. I kept looking over at him, and I'd look over at him and he'd be sitting there just with a 1,000-yard stand holding a cold chicken tender just like this. And I'd say, hey, buddy, you need to eat you a good meal before we hit the sack, because we got a long day tomorrow. And he'd just look at me and just nod his head because his stomach was still screwed up,
I couldn't
right?
eat nothing. I was feeling so
He
nauseous.
said, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Just sit over there with the chicken.
So we stayed up and partied at the shelter till about 2:30 in the morning, and then we decided to go set our tarps up and bed down. NB, you wasn't in bed long.
No, I wasn't in bed long before that stomach decided to let me know that it's time to get up. I think I got up twice throughout that night, Chad. And emptied the tank there a few times.
Yep.
So that was, I'm telling you, when I was doing that, I was feeling rough. I was like, I don't know if I can go another 260 miles after letting all that stuff out.
We get up the next morning, roll up out of our tarp, and kind of stumble over to the shelter. And there's a lady sitting around the campfire, and she's like 70-something years old. And she's one of them perpetual walkers.
Yeah.
We met a real live perpetual walker.
Yeah. Oh, she said she doesn't, more than 5 miles a day?
But that's all she does.
That's all she does.
She's like, you've heard of Nimble Wheel?
Well, are you saying she lives out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a perpetual, all she does is walk. Like continuously around the entire country.
And she ain't got maybe she has a place, but she's barely there. I mean, she literally just can't. She's got her tent with her and everything.
Yep.
She's just carrying a pack.
So I walk up to the fire, and here's this.
That's my dream.
She's living it.
Well,
she's living it. Okay.
I don't want to wait till I'm
So
70.
she was walking the section on the Florida Trail. I asked her, like, what are you doing out here? And she was like, oh, I'm doing the ECT to the ACT and all that. They just link up all these long trail sections, and they just walk around the whole nation. But anyways, I walk up, and here's this lady sitting by the fire at 8:30 in the morning, smoking a nub of a cigar. It's just a nub, drinking a Mike's Hard Lemonade. 70-year-old lady at the fire, perpetual walker, her backpack sitting beside her. And I'm like, am I in some alternate reality right now? Like
Florida, baby.
Like, what's happening here?
That's Florida. You've done it, man.
And we're
beautiful.
We're at a primitive shelter, literally in the middle of the wilderness, and here's this person smoking a nub of a cigar, drinking a Mike's Hard Lemonade
At 8:30 in the morning.
At
It had to
8:30
been
in
hot.
the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is freaking awesome. Where else can you see this crap? Right?
That's when you arrive, Chili. You say you can never arrive, but
That's when you've done it.
yeah.
Oh,
she
she's
was
arrived.
doing it.
Yeah.
She was doing it, son.
Man, you'd be surprised. Also, that night at the shelter, we ran into that guy who watches the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Man, you should have seen him when Chad walked into that camp. He was sitting over there by the fire, and he was sitting over there looking. Chad comes walking up. He'd been staring at Chad. Chad, was talking to Carlos, the race director, there for about 10 minutes, and that guy was just staring at him. He's like, you're Chad Rite, aren't you?
Yeah. I said, yeah, buddy, I'm Chad. And we carried on about our conversation. About 10 minutes later, he chimed in. He said, I can't even believe you're sitting right here in front of me right now. So he was experiencing that weird reality too. This place was like a warp. It was some kind of just weird freaking thing, man.
Yeah, y'all had something going on there.
It was epic, dude.
Bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, a bunch of daggone weirdos. had just descended upon this primitive shelter in the middle of this wilderness in Central Florida.
When you get a high concentration of weirdos like that, yeah, something's going to happen. It can tend to bend reality.
It was so good, man. I mean, it was so good.
Yeah, it was.
So we finally, after we're done sitting and chit-chatting and just sitting and kind of watching this perpetual walker lady that
Not
morning.
talk to her?
Oh, yeah, we talked to her plenty. Yeah.
She was nice.
She was very friendly. Very, very cool person. Very cool. We decided to get back on our bicycles and roll out.
Yep. That's when we went through that. We hit a little bit of gravel there. Then we got into that Challenger trail.
Oh, the challenge trail.
Challenge trail. Yeah, it had all those bushes and brush and sand and swamp.
Cypress knees.
Cypress knees, yep.
Yep.
That was some hard riding. The trail, you couldn't hardly see it. I mean, it was slow moving through that.
Yep. We worked our way through the challenge trail.
Yeah.
Where'd we pop out after that?
That was the river. We popped into the river crossing,
Okay.
right?
I've heard about that.
Yep.
What was that like?
It was awesome.
It wasn't bad at all. I mean, we
Not deep?
Oh no, it was
it was
deep.
probably chest deep.
Yeah. You had to
pretty
pick
serious.
you had to pick your bike up and carry it across
Over
for
your
sure.
head.
But that cool water was nice.
It was
yeah.
nice getting in that water. Like it was cold.
Do a lot of people try to push to that on day one and maybe camp?
No, you wouldn't want to camp up in there.
There were 30 something people at that shelter.
Okay.
That
And a lot of people were camping behind
entrance.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we passed a lot of people on the way to the shelter. So I think that shelter is where people that aren't obviously
Racing.
trying to race it. That's where they try to get to
That's about the
because
most
the
people
party,
push.
man.
Yeah.
You can't miss that.
Well, damn.
You can, but you'd be a fool to, right?
Well, yeah. If you got a little more hitch in your giddy up, you might can.
So we get through the
River crossing.
get through the river. That was easy day. Where we head from there?
Where did we hit after the river crossing?
And at that point, in the first place, guys, like coming across the finish line, right?
Yeah, let me see. I think I put a little note here. What was?
Just about.
Yeah, I reckon
Okay.
after the river cross. Oh, we started hitting. We popped out on that town, didn't we? Hit a couple of them greenways.
Yep. And this is the point where we are pushing to get to a brewery
Yeah.
before it closes.
That's the second
There and
checkpoint.
saw it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it was a checkpoint, so we had to stop.
You
there
have
and-
to stop there.
Yeah.
He couldn't take any more PBRs with him from the night before.
We was trying to get to that brewery after we left that party.
He said they ran out of beer at that party. We got to get this brewery.
Yeah. So we got all these long sections.
So that was a long stretch to get to that.
Yeah.
brewery.
This is day 2. My pard here ain't hit his night gear yet.
Oh, that's when we was coming around that lake, that big old lake with all them gators.
Oh,
Apopka
yeah,
lake.
man.
It was just flat forever.
Popka.
Yep.
It was just some.
Freaking massive alligators everywhere. Long
Yeah.
stretches.
Just
Yep, my pard here, he was feeling it. He hadn't blowed his turbo yet or slung a rod.
We'll get to that in a
he
minute.
was still able to move.
yeah.
And it's brewery or bust, man.
Yep.
It's get to the brewery or bust. And
All right.
we linked up with a couple of guys, Tom and Tom's pard. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I didn't get his name neither.
Yep. And we
Tom's part will suffice.
we leapfrog with these cats, and we make the brewery at 6:30,
About 6:30. Yeah.
right after sundown.
Prime drinking time.
Yep. Sit down. I eat an entire bacon cheeseburger and a whole large pizza, minus 2 pieces,
Yep.
and I only drank 1 beer because
What time was it?
6:30.
In the morning?
No, at night.
Oh, what? You got 2?
Well,
At dinner?
the problem is we had another 20-mile pull that we had to hit once we left the brewery. So we got all fueled up,
Got some food in us and took back off.
and then we linked up with 3 other riders
Yep.
because that pull between the brewery and where we stopped that night was all highway.
Yeah.
And let me tell you right now, you ride a daggone bicycle down a highway,
Like a 2-lane or 4-lane or
a two and four.
Both, yeah, that stretch.
Yeah, I mean, and people running 70 miles an hour, and you got a shoulder that's a foot wide.
Did you
and
have
it's
good lights on your bike? You know,
good? I mean,
Yeah,
we had
people
little
just didn't
blinking
wanna
lights
move
on the
over.
back,
didn't
and
care.
That's kind of why we rode in that group. That was nice, having about 5 riders.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Makes you
so
stick
we
out a little better.
we stayed together because that was dangerous as crap, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like every car that comes by, you're like 2 inches from death, essentially, just getting obliterated. We stopped by Publix.
Old Chad.
There was a Publix on the route.
the snack changer
And,
over there.
and this is another thing. I had no idea of how much I was going to have to eat on this
You
ride.
could probably get some Tillamook in there.
Dude,
he was throwing.
I
down the
ate
food.
so much. If it wouldn't have been for that Publix, I would have been screwed. I would have ran slap out of food.
Yeah, so Tom and them, they didn't carry a lot of food. They were buying all their food, so they had stopped at Publix, and we all went in there. I was getting a few things. Old Chad comes out with about 3 or 4 grocery bags of food.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where he
I-
was stitching all that stuff in every.
I added about 20 pounds to my bike on that Publix stop. Get back on the highway.
Yeah.
We roll on down. We finally get to this spot. One of the guys in our group was like, "You can't camp here. We can't camp here. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. There will be problems if you camp here."
Well, yeah, you may not can, but I can. Beat it. Beat it, nerd.
So and here's
Freaking beat it, dude.
and here's the thing: you get to this spot, and if you go any further, you get into what's called the Green Swamp.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, the Green Swamp,
You don't want to camp on the green.
it ain't no joke, son. I mean,
What's his name? Tom?
no,
That was
it
a
wasn't.
different guy.
It
Tom's
was
Pard?
It was no. So this one guy in our group was like, "No, we can't camp here. We gotta push on further." And Tom's Pard was like, "I didn't hear that. I didn't. I didn't see that rule.
Yep.
No." Tom's Pard won't going no further.
He said, "We're camping right here.
We are
Right
staying
here."
right here, son.
I agree with Tom's Pard.
Yep. So we went ahead and bedded down there. That was our least miles. That was probably we probably in 95 or 96 miles that day.
Well, how was that,
But
though?
that was 10:30 when we stopped. The first night we drove to 12:30. We kind of stopped in about 10:30.
I mean, first day, 100 miles, you never been that far. But, I mean, it's one day or whatever. But then getting up again, what was that? How did it feel like it took way longer the next, the second day, covered almost as much ground?
No, the second day it was not still not getting to the point where it was like, oh man, this is tough. Mm-hmm. It was the third day when that happened.
That third day. Yeah.
So we got up out from under that pavilion, got going about 8:30 on the third day, and we push on down into the Green Swamp. And it is just forever. It just keeps coming. I mean, I reckon we saw every bit of the Green Swamp, and there ain't no telling how many thousands of acres this place was.
Yeah, it was. Well, we ran into those guys burning that forest up. He said like 165,000 acres or something like that.
Yeah, and I reckon we saw every bit of it.
Yeah, we did.
But
I mean, is it sandy, rooty,
It's
wet?
everything. It goes through. You'll hit sand. You'll hit a little bit of like fire dirt roads. You'll hit swamp. It just.
I mean, when you say swamp, did you ever have to ride through
Oh yeah.
like
oh yeah,
foot or two of water
We've done at least
more
that.
than that.
and just pick it up every time? Yeah.
We've
Yep,
done that at least probably a couple times a day. Most time.
Yeah.
plenty of that. We're riding through the Green Swamp. Weird things happen in the Green Swamp.
Yeah.
We're riding through there. There's an alligator laying on the side of the trail. That's twice the length of this table right here, at least. This thing's a freaking dinosaur.
Well, yeah, there's some big ones.
And I'm like, why ain't this thing moving?
Yeah, we stopped and was kind of looking at it.
It wouldn't move. And I'm like, Noah, grab that thing's tail and see if you can make it move.
Yeah, that thing whipped around and freaking go ahead and take a big hunk out of your
I
leg if you
said-
do that.
He said, "You got the camera on?" I said, "Yeah, the camera's running." And he reached down and grabbed that thing's tail, and it didn't move. The thing was dead.
Yeah, it was dead. That close to the.
Boy, I would have I would have made sure he was dead.
It was straight dead, all right?
I mean, I'm talking about making sure, homie. Like, you start messing with that, them things get lethargic when they get big, you know. You know that.
Yeah, I know, because we were seeing some the day before going around that lake that
Yeah.
they looked like they were dead, but they weren't
They
dead.
ain't, yeah.
But
Yeah.
this one, you'd smell him a little bit.
Yeah, we got downwind of him. You could smell him. So
We had quite a few fences and stuff we had to climb over too through the green swamp.
yeah,
Like
rough
gates
terrain,
and
man.
Stuff you'd have to.
And then you're riding down. You're riding down all these. We get to a section where we're riding down more of these big limestone fire roads, basically, and you're just completely exposed. It's hot, hot as mess. We come up to this intersection, and here's three guys, and they have a freaking helicopter
A nice helicopter set
Park-
right in the middle of this intersection.
parked
On the trail.
On the
in
trail.
the middle of this swamp. I mean, we're 25 miles back into this.
So
swamp.
it ain't real dense. I mean, they could land it in there.
Yeah,
This one part had opened. There's some parts that opened up like that,
yeah.
and there's a big
Freaking
old
dude with a
helicopter.
helicopter.
Well, what
there.
for?
Well, we ended up talking to him, and I was talking to these guys about their helicopter and stuff, and one of the guys looked over at me and he said, "You're Chad Wright, ain't you?"
He said, "That's Chad Wright, Navy SEAL."
He said, "You're Chad Wright, ain't you?" I said, "Yeah."
That's what they call me.
He looked over at his two buddies. He pointed at me. He said, "Former Navy SEAL."
He did.
You talk about a vortex, a weird vortex. You roll up in the middle of the freaking green swamp. There's three dudes standing around a helicopter, and one of them knows who you are.
Yeah, son, it was.
What the freaking crap is going on here, dude?
Well, what was going on?
They were doing
Control burns.
fire. Yeah,
Ah,
Yeah, they were doing control burns.
so it didn't have nothing to do with the race or nobody. Okay.
No,
just random.
and did you know you could buy a helicopter for less than $1 million?
That's what they told us.
Because I asked them guys, I said, "What's that thing called?"
Well, you're gonna have to buy you a landing pad too.
So we get on through that.
You don't do that.
Get on through that swamp, and now here's where Noah blew his turbo. NB blew his turbo.
Blew a rod.
We get is that? No, did
It was
you
before
throw
I
your
was
rod?
already down before we got to the helicopter.
For real?
I'd already
you
jumped.
you threw your rod in the green swamp.
Yeah, I rode all the way through the green swamp on that one.
Holy
day.
crap, man!
Just hurting.
Oh, so it had just started that morning. Well, it had kind of been hurting the night before, but started that morning of day 3. I was like, how popped a few naprots and, didn't help at all. I was getting a lot of knee pain. I couldn't sit down and pedal. I was just, sharp pain when I tried to pedal. I thought something's messed up with my knee here. Mm-hmm. But we just kind of kept riding with it. I would stand up, kind of push. But
Oh yeah, because that's where we had our hard conversation.
yeah,
in the green swamp.
I'm telling you, I thought he was going to have to bury me out in that green swamp, son.
Yeah,
Them
that's
helicopter
right.
guys have to lift me out of there.
because
Well, it ain't. Hey, say, hey, you boys with that helicopter, here, my buddy, you can just take us on out.
I told Noah the beginning of day 3. I said this will be the hardest day.
And it was.
Because that's always the way it is. The last day, you're pushing for the finish, right? So it's always the day before the last day that's the hardest day.
Well, and there's something about day 3.
Yeah.
Even if something's a month, people are like, "Oh, day 3, I thought I was going to quit," and then 3 weeks in, they're all good to go.
Yeah, I guess it's your body's on the verge of kind of making the transition into whatever it is you're doing, and his knee flared up to the point that he couldn't sit down and pedal his bike anymore, and he was going real slow through this green swamp.
What do you think caused that? Just the repetition? Just the
Yeah, I think just the act. Like I said,
cycling it just a billion times.
and not like I said, not have a lot of training built up to that. Just a quick 2 months. I wasn't physically where it needed to be to do that kind of mileage.
But you could stand up and pedal?
So yeah, it was like what I would do is I would stand up. Essentially, I had a technique I had worked out. I would pedal with my left leg, and I was just enough to throw my weight up and get down enough to push on that right.
Well, see, when you stand up, it ain't bending as much.
It's right, yeah,
right.
keeping it straight. So I was kind of like just using my weight and my left leg.
Yeah, and we were deep in this joker, man, and I started getting a little worried about him because I was watching him and I was like, okay, yeah, he's not sitting down on his bike and pedaling, and it's hours and hours, and he's not sitting down, and it's hot in there, and we got a long ways to go. And I backed up and told him, I said, look, man, you're gonna have to make some hard decisions here because it ain't like we only have 20 miles left. We have 160 something miles left to go, and you have to be able to ride. And I said, you can ride through this, but at this point we didn't know it was IT band. We thought it was something in the knee.
Yeah.
And I said, you can make the decision to slog it in and ride through this, but if you keep putting pressure on that knee over the course of the next 160 miles, by the time you're done, you may be going to have freaking knee surgery.
Yeah.
So you got to make a decision. What are you willing to pay to finish this thing? Like, are you willing to risk damaging your knee substantially to finish this thing? Or if this is an injury, should you stop now? Or once you couldn't stop, then you had to get out of the green swamp.
That was the thing at that point that I was in. I mean, I was at the point, like, if we would have been somewhere close to civilization, I'd have probably quit. But we were 20 miles left in the green swamp. So I was like, I mean, I have to push out at least through it.
Had to get out of there.
Had to get out of there.
Yeah.
And it was rough terrain getting out of there that last stretch of it. We had 2 or 3 swamp crossings at deep sand, had to walk it.
Yep.
And so I was feeling it. So
You got to know there's going to be sand everywhere. And then that green swamp's probably that was the
low point.
yeah.
What's the word? That was you were really, that's the meat of where everything was. I mean, it just happened to work out that way, right? That like everything kind of came down to that section.
Yep.
Yeah, it really did.
We were in that swamp for
8 hours.
8 hours.
Yeah.
And it was hot.
You didn't see nothing. Yeah, for 8 straight hours. We got out of the swamp.
Mm-hmm. Hit that gas station there.
We rode up, hit a gas station, and what made you decide to keep pushing after how you had been feeling all day?
After getting, being able to just stand up and push through that swamp, like I said, I was done for. But we kind of got to that gas station. There was a lot of, and I had actually even considered the whole time, I was like, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to find me a person that's going to drive me back to that finish line. I'm going to have to let Chad finish on his own. But we got a little snack, and I started stretching it. We kind of determined it was the IT band instead of the knee.
Yeah.
Kind of the where it was hitting, and I was kind of like, me and Chad was talking. He's like, I ain't never seen nobody tear one of those, and so I was like, I'm just trying to keep. I don't think it's, it hurts and it's painful, but I don't think it's going to cause any lasting damage. So I got there and I rolled out that IT band out there at that gas station on my Nalgene bottle, and that helped a lot. And just kind of tried a few different techniques, but I was like, I'm just gonna. I knew we were closer to town, so I was like, I'm gonna keep on going. If it just blows out, I'll go figure that out when it happens.
Yeah.
So long, hard day. We hit this gas station. It's late in the evening.
Is it dark at this point?
It's about 5 o'clock.
It's about 5 o'clock. We started about 8 o'clock that morning.
Mm-hmm.
There's people laid out everywhere at this gas station.
Oh, it was a hub. There was a bunch of
bikers.
Yeah.
They had laid their stuff out for that swamp and just eat a bunch of people.
The swamp ate them alive, man.
Are you 300 miles in or what?
We're 260.
Yeah, probably.
So day 3, that swamp you didn't cover.
We'd only cover about 60 miles.
Just trudging.
It was slow, dude. The main challenge for me, I think, in there was I really had to be patient because if you could ride in that swamp, you could have got through there in 6 hours if you could ride hard. And so
how were people going through that? I mean, how much did that slow down some of the front guys?
Oh, the front guys, it didn't slow them down at all.
Well, what are they doing through the high water and through the sand? I mean, are they somehow just staying on the dang bike?
I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So yeah, the hardest part in the swamp for me was being patient with Noah and knowing that he was doing all he could to ride as fast as he could, and I could ride hard if I could have covered those miles really quick, and I wanted to get out of there.
Oh yeah, he was getting roasted with that sun. That sun
Yeah,
was burning him.
I wanted to get out of there, but I was like, no, we're not going to split. We're going to stay together. We come this far together, we're going to stay together, right? Because we had before the race, we didn't talk about are we going to stay together the whole time. We were just like, well, we'll start off together, and if our paces change or whatever, we'll split up, you know. But by this point, I'm like, no, we've came this far. We're going to stay together. So that was me just have to say, okay, you're in this thing, and even though you can ride faster, you know, you need to support your buddy here. And I know that sounds like an easy decision to make, but when you're getting baked and you're in this vortex of the swamp, it was a mental challenge for me. Yeah. Yeah, we hit that gas station, and at this point, we're like, okay, we want to finish. We want to set ourselves up for a early finish on day 4. So we decided from that gas station we were going to push another 60 miles.
Yep.
So,
well, because we looked up the map, and he had a good campsite marked or something. Carlos had marked out different areas to camp.
and was it some, road and fire road to there? I mean, pretty, or no more, or more crap.
Tell them about that section. I'm going to pee real quick.
All right, so we hit that section. So we came out of that gas station, and we got on some highway road for about, 5-10 miles. And so we was like, okay, if we can keep this up,
Well, yeah.
we're going to cover some good ground. But most of them people were wore out from that, from the swamp. They was like, oh, we're just camping 5-10 miles up the road. They weren't going to push on. But yeah, we started going and see. So we hit what we was calling it the wormhole. I don't remember what it was actually called, but it was some sandy, technical single track for miles. I mean, probably 30 miles. And so we didn't know we got in there right as soon as it was getting dark. We was hoping, it's just about 10 miles of this single track, but that sucker just kept on going. And I was telling him, we called it the wormhole, but I don't know what it actually was called, but that went on and on.
I was navving through that section, man, and I would zoom my map out.
So, yeah, what was nav like?
So we downloaded a GPX file.
Okay.
And so, the course was all in the GPS. But I would zoom when we got into that section, they call it Cromwell or something.
Yeah.
I would zoom out, and all you could see was just all these little zigzag forever. And we're in this thing, man. And it's like, are we ever going to get out of this thing?
Well, so nav wasn't much more than just making sure you were staying on that GPX file. Okay.
Yep.
But still, I mean, you could obviously get off.
Yeah, because it didn't pick up other trips. You come to like a
right
split or something. It didn't show, there's a split.
Right.
It would you just kind of had to
Yeah.
go a little bit, and if it didn't, you turn around.
I got you.
We finally popped out of the wormhole.
Yep. And then we hit, what did we hit? Oh, we hit that lot and come up behind that power line cut.
Stopped at a little store.
Stopped at a
that
little
was
store.
closed.
It was cold.
Got some beer.
Yeah, it was another checkpoint. And
It was
supposed
another
to have stuff, but we got there. It was middle of the night when we got there, so it was like 10 o'clock.
Yep. Ate some Tillamook cheese and Ritz crackers.
Yeah, was everything open when you got to it?
No,
That store wasn't.
No, that store wasn't.
That was shut
nobody.
down.
It was a small little town, nothing around.
Well, so at this point, riding at night, like, are you getting sleepy at all, Noah? Or like, how much did you know?
No, I wouldn't say I really got too sleepy riding at night. I usually felt good riding up. That night, I didn't, and I got tired that last about 30 minutes before we rolled into camp that night.
I just wondered, about to lay down for what, third night?
Yeah.
And, hard day like that, riding, just kind of getting that beam of the headlamp, and even more so than running, just kind of just zoning out, about fall asleep on the bike, I think that'd be a little bit like riding in a car, like just kind of.
Yeah, I think with me, I was kind of like where I was hurting. I stood up. I rode all of day 3 and 4 on my feet.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really get tired because I was standing up. I felt like the whole time I wasn't sitting there like pedaling.
Yeah.
I was standing and.
Yeah, I never got that tired either. I think we got enough rest every night.
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours of sleep to keep you from getting super sleep deprived. So we passed that store, and we've got 3 legs that we got to hit to get to this campsite objective that we want to get to. And these are long legs. And it got freaking cold, son. I'm talking 40 degrees.
Yeah.
It was 85, 86 degrees during the day, and it dropped to 40s, and you've got to ride the bike.
And you're sweaty.
Oh, you get hot going up them hills. I get sweaty, and then you
got a 20 mile per hour wind.
And you'd start getting real cold.
Yeah, when temperature change like that, especially where you're getting sweat. Well, you probably got wet enough just from the environment.
The crossings, yeah.
But plus you're sweaty. That's when you really get cold and chilled. So, did you have the gear for that transition?
We did. We never got to the point that we were like jackhammering cold, but it was cold enough to be miserable.
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm about to have to ride down this hill, and I'm going to have a 20 mile per hour wind hitting me. And my body's beat. I had just baked in the sun all day. And you know how when you're deep into something like this, your body already doesn't regulate its temperature as well as it can when you're fresh. And the cold made us, I think, ride harder that night.
I do too.
On those last 3 long, because these last 3 legs we had were like 5 or 6 mile stretches a piece, right? So we had another 15 miles to go past that store. And I told Noah, I said, man, I know what you're going through, but we got to ride hard here just to generate enough body heat to stay warm.
Yeah.
So the cold actually ended up being a blessing on that third night. Yeah. Because you had to ride as hard as you possibly could just to keep your body temperature up. And we roll into this campsite objective, which, by the way, we had no clue what it was. It was just a pin on the GPS. And it turns out to be like a legit campground. And I told Noah, I said, we're going to ride in here nice and quiet like and find us a spot to bed down because we can't go no further than this, man. It's 2:30 in the morning.
Was this a campground you were supposed to pay for a spot or something?
It wasn't like it wasn't for bikers to come in there.
We are on air. By the way, any laws, rules, or regulations that were broken during this trek were a sole reflection of my own poor decision making, and by no means reflect the nature of anyone else. I was not I'm not a member of any bike club, and I was also not a participant in any organized event. I was just a guy on a bicycle. Okay, so we roll into this joint.
You won't even track.
Out of the way.
Yeah, we were just 2 guys on a bicycle.
Yeah, we just riding around.
I said, we're going to roll into here nice and quiet. Like, we cut all our lights off, slipped in there, found a pavilion with a bunch of picnic tables stacked around. I said, all right, well, we're going to lay our bikes down on the ground. We're going to huddle up in between all these picnic tables.
So we camped
and we laid out on the ground and got a little bit of rest.
Yep.
So you're able to dry out and, it's 40 degrees there?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know if we dried out too much, but yeah, we
were so tired.
Got warm.
Yeah, we were so tired. We just got warm, and and laid up. And I was fully expecting someone to come in the wee hours of the morning, some law enforcement officer, and tell us, "No, boy, get out of here, you vagrant." Right?
We'd already came up with a good little plan.
Yeah,
too.
and I had already, I mean, my part over here is injured. It's cold.
You're homeless.
Thank God we found that place. That place saved our lives, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't have made it.
But we made it through. We got up the next morning and pushed on into day 4. We only had, what did we have left that day?
45 miles?
About 45
we hit
miles.
120 on day 3.
Man, yeah.
120 miles.
I guess it went past midnight, but I mean,
we rode on.
That's a good ways.
Oh, and
in that terrain, yeah.
I was feeling the pain that night too. My teeth started locking up on me. I couldn't even straighten it out. Couldn't even straighten my leg out there.
Yep.
But, hey, we got through it.
And starting day 4, 40 something miles left to go. Now, that ain't nothing to sneeze at, son.
No,
that's still a long bike ride in that terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say you hit your lowest of lows.
I did.
In the last
10
miles.
Dang.
I'm telling you, we started
NB hit his lowest of lows.
And we was working out pretty good, hitting those first 20 miles that morning. We knocked those out good. They were it was on a greenway. So I could keep my kind of like push pace. Well, son, then we turned onto some technical. Last 10 miles was some technical single track. And I didn't have the power left in my leg, though.
Was it causing you to wreck?
Oh, yeah.
How many times do you think you wrecked?
That last 10 miles, I mean, like I said, I couldn't put any power through my right leg.
You're right.
I was literally one-legged fly. So you try to go some technical, and you'd start going, and I'd get caught on my right leg, and I couldn't, and I just
there was a half-mile stretch where he wrecked that I saw 4 times.
At least.
I mean, he would wreck, get on, like there was one point, I come up by him, and he's laid flat on his back in the weeds. He stands up, gets on his bicycle, pedals a few pedals, wrecks again. Then he got back on his bicycle, literally pedals one pedal stroke, and runs into a pine tree.
Yeah.
So I was that bad. Right there.
Did you have clips on your shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Ran slap into a pine tree, and what was happening, the cumulative effect, I think, from me looking from the outside, the cumulative effect of you not being able to put power down, constantly wrecking, cumulative fatigue, and knowing that there were only, at this point,
10 miles
or less left.
Yeah.
It started to get in your head.
It did. I was sitting there I was like hoping, he's got 10 miles. I can just push.
Yeah.
Roll these out. But like I said, I literally couldn't push through these technical terrains like that. And it was just, that's probably the only time the entire trip I got a little flustered there, son.
Yeah.
I was getting a little pissed off. I was ready to throw that bike down the hill.
Yeah. Start
yeah.
carrying that thing. Be like, well, I just walked about 10 miles now.
When MB ran into that pine tree, I looked at him and I said, "Look, buddy, you got to pull it together." I said, just because we only got 5 miles left, don't mean jack squat. We still got to treat it like we got 100 miles left, because that was some dangerous trail to ride across.
That was some
and
drop-offs.
That's a testament to the way Carlos designed this course. Like, that was in design, I think, very intentionally. That really technical, gnarly trail being at the very end and forcing you to come through that on a loaded out bike, knowing you're beat, you're tired, you're 5 miles from the finish, and then having to deal with that, not being able to move as fast as you want to move. It was this guy that designed this course. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, that'd have been hard enough technically on a normal bike without a load and fresh. If you weren't wore out. So.
Well, we finally get through it. We roll back into the start-finish point, and there's crowds showering us with confetti, people cheering and clapping, really appreciating the effort that we just put in to finish this thing.
Felt special.
Me and Chili were speculating that maybe nobody was there. Maybe they had packed up by the time y'all rolled in.
Well, that's the case.
There wasn't nobody. Yeah.
We roll into the start-finish line.
Yeah.
And there's literally no one there.
Well, yeah, Chad. You got to finish in time.
Well,
no, there were a lot of people behind us.
I'm just messing with
there
you.
was a lot of people behind us.
We roll into this
That's
place.
the way it is, man. What do you expect, a hug?
No, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
Like a single lady that works for the park there steps out of her little ranger shack and goes,
Good job.
Y'all got it done.
we roll on to our truck, throw our bikes in the back,
We out of there.
and go eat at the restaurant you recommended.
Now, how was that?
Okay.
Decent?
That's a different little story there.
Well, it may not have been good.
We
got to talk about
you
that.
recommended 2 of them.
The first night in Ocala, we tried to go to the Harry's.
That's the place to
bar
go
and
to.
Grill. Okay, they had an hour and a half wait.
That's where you should. That's where I recommended.
Yeah,
If you went to that other
we left
place
there and went to the other place, the Mexican whatever food, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Right, but this
I
now
wouldn't have went there.
we finished the race. We make it to Harry's at like 4 p.m. and we're actually able to eat there because we beat the rush.
Right, that's the place to
Yeah,
go.
so-
And
We
it
ate
was a
there
really
today.
good dinner, man.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's not- yeah.
Thank you for that recommendation, sir.
I have that service. That's what I recommended.
Yeah, thank
What'd
you
you
for
charge
that.
him for that?
Oh, it was free.
Dang.
So I tell you what, though, I couldn't eat hardly at that restaurant. So riding on the bike like that, like we was talking about a little bit earlier, your hands. We didn't realize something we didn't recognize or didn't see. We didn't expect that coming. Just the amount of pressure, right, just from grabbing them bars. We had no dexterity or strength in our hands. So I was grabbing that fork and that knife trying to eat. I looked like a caveman in there, son.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't open Ziploc bags. We couldn't manipulate Fast Tech buckles. You
couldn't
You
do
could
that.
barely tie your shoes. You just
Come on,
lost.
man.
I'm telling you.
I'm dead serious.
I'm telling you, it was so bad. Day 4, when we stopped, right after we stopped at a gas station, Chad went in there and got him a chocolate. I mean, he could not. He had to bring out his pocket knife to pop that little piece of plastic off the chocolate milk so he could open it.
I had to do everything with a pocket knife.
I promise you.
I went to charge my
He
phone,
couldn't open it.
and this little thing right here on the bottom of the phone to get to the charger. If I wanted to put my charger in my phone, I had to take my pocket knife out and pick this out to
Look,
get my
man,
charger.
y'all gonna
out.
have to do.
Essentially invalids.
Y'all gonna have to do something harder to be that tore up. I mean, come on, man.
Well, that's the story. That's the story in a nutshell of the event we just did. I got all this stuff on video and more than what we talked about here today. So I'll try to find somebody to put all that together and edit up a video for you guys. And
Oh man, he's taking shots.
we'll put it out for you guys on YouTube. It should be pretty entertaining for you guys to actually see this firsthand.
Find somebody who's tough and
but-
can relate to it.
By the way, on day one, NB bought me a backwoods cigar. So there's plenty of scenes of me smoking that backwoods in the backwoods
Sitting
in the
up there.
actual video.
Every night we got in the camp, he'd just sit there and light him up a few.
I love a good cigar.
Full vagrant, son.
You got out of your sleeping bag that one night to hit you a few puffs.
We had laid down to go to bed, and I forgot I didn't hit a puff on my backwoods cigar, so I got back up and sat on the picnic table and lit it up, son.
Little sipping, little smoking. That's what Chad did.
I couldn't wait to have me a bunch of beers and smoke that cigar.
Little sipping, little smoking, little riding.
We left the party and it was brewery or bust. Then we left that brewery, so we got to get to that gas station and get us one of them 40 malt liquors.
It's so good, man. It's so good, man.
Florida living.
Oh,
Gotta love it.
So good. So that's the story, and I just want to thank. I want to thank Carlos, man, for putting this together. And I'm going to try to have him on the podcast. I'm going to try to call him and just talk to him at some point just about what he does, because to put something, to put a route together like that when you actually ride it and it's all linked up perfectly, you realize, like, man, this dude you got to have some real vision and talent to put something like this together on this scale. He found every piece of trail that he could possibly, like, you would turn down trails that were in the middle of a town, like went through an empty lot, and he found these things somehow, and link this route up and to utilize as much green space and trail and woods as he possibly could. And it's just a masterpiece of a creation. I couldn't imagine the time that went in to building out a route like that.
Well, he's a true rider. He's a true, adventure rider, purist. I mean, you can't do that without having experiential knowledge of everything. I mean, he's probably ridden all that so many times and then just said, well, I'm going to make this route.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. If that's what you're passionate about,
It is. It's an amazing talent. I was just totally blown away. So I'll try to get him on and talk to him about, because this is it's interesting what he does for a living, and we'll talk about that again if we have him on the show. But just wanted to share that experience with you guys. And
well, I got one question on here for NB.
Oh man, here we go.
They wanted you to share your creeper trail riding experience.
Creeper Trail. Oh, in Damascus, Virginia.
They said you might have took a spill up there. Jacob Bunch.
Oh, so that's my brother, my younger brother. So we used to ride that route a lot with our church and stuff. It's about 17, 18 miles.
We rode it.
It's all downhill,
Yeah.
Well, man, we was coming up through there, and we just crossed a bridge or something, and my mom has like stopped right in the, and I was like, I was coming hot, and so I had to lock it down, and I went over the handlebars right there, wiped out.
he's a little shaky on a bicycle. Wow. NB's a little rigid on a bicycle.
You ain't supposed to be good at that. It's ridiculous.
Chili, do you think you'll ever do one of these
No, sir.
races?
No, sir.
No?
No, I'm not. I have not lost all my mental faculties yet.
I think you'd enjoy it. I think just the fact of like being out, like we were saying, even if you're not out there trying to push for the race, just the fact that you're out covering so much country, just living like a vagrant, and just, when else are you gonna lay out behind a gas station, eat some pizza?
Oh no, no,
like,
no!
It's a good time. Like,
oh, I love it all, minus the bike.
Yeah,
I can do that on foot. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Dang, bicycle's stupid.
Well, you couldn't do it on foot unless you could do it
No,
on foot.
I could not quite do it as fast. But as bad as I am at riding, me personally would run that faster.
You would have to backpack it. There's so many stretches that you would go through that you could not carry. You would have so much weight on you just in fuel.
I could fast pack it.
Yeah, you would have to fast pack it. Yeah,
I wouldn't have to have no big old backpack, but no, I could run.
But I couldn't help but think about you and Blake while we were out there. Even though I know you guys are retired.
If you want to tread this ground, you're gonna get hammered
He
here.
thought them swamps was rough, didn't he?
If you want to go ahead, but just know what's coming to you if you want to go ahead and say this. So go ahead.
Even though I'm taking in the
you're gonna get the cold depths of hell come out of me and freaking light you up if you want to say this. So go ahead.
I do acknowledge the fact that you and Blake are retired from doing hard, challenging things, and getting out of your comfort zone and learning new skills and pushing yourself. I acknowledge the fact that you guys are retired from doing those types of activities, and that you mainly just kind of just float through life now. But I couldn't help but think of how much you guys would have enjoyed this event. So I think next year, the Hurrican 300 is just going to be mandatory fun. It's going to be Team PT. Don't worry, I'll pay for your bicycle and all your gear, Chili. I'll buy your whole setup for you. And it's just going to be mandatory fun next year. So go ahead and start training. Pick your bike out.
I'll have you.
Just buy it on the credit card.
I'll just say this. I'll enjoy watching you think that we're going to do that. That'll be fun. I'll enjoy that.
It's going to happen.
Well, me and Blake, I don't know about you guys, but you didn't seem to PT this morning. Me and Blake had Weenie Hut PT. That's what we call it now. The Weenie Hut version of PT.
Tell the people about Team PT this morning.
Yeah, me and Blake went on about a 5 mile run, roughly. Something like
Hold
that.
on, it was 7 miles earlier.
Yeah, Blake called it 7. He's a bit exaggeratory. Anything if it's over a 10K, it's out of the Weenie Hut.
Okay.
Like
we had to dial it down.
Yeah. So no, that's basically what we're gonna do. Team PT, instead of going to the CrossFit gym and playing around like a pansy in there and then going to Doug's for breakfast. Weenie Hut PT does very short runs, shake weight exercises, and we eat at Bojangles after. So that's what we do. So if you'd like to join us, you can. But I know you're a real tough guy.
Yeah.
And you like to do things more challenging.
He hit them hills down in Florida now. You got to give him some credit.
Which
Well,
that leads me to something I want.
He's watched so many David Goggins videos. He's got.
I'm inspired.
He's gotten this weird mindset where like whenever it gets cold at night, he just goes out and runs shirtless and and starts filming it. And he sends them to me, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. I don't care about this. I do my own thing, man. You keep doing this.
I just really want to take a moment to thank Chili and Blake live on the air because, for me to be able to go out and do challenging, awesome things in life, there has to be people that stay in the rear with the gear. It was the same way in the SEAL teams. For me to be able to go out and do awesome missions, I know there has to be people who are willing to stay in the rear with the gear and take care of the admin and, just do stuff like that. And I'm thankful for you guys being being those people for me and enabling me to do things that really challenge and inspire others. Because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this type of stuff. So
our selflessness permits your selfishness. So
Yeah.
it's an honor for us, really.
yeah. So I wanted to throw that out there just as a thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. You've been full-time assault force ever since you got this operation running, and it's pretty funny what that's devolved to.
Yeah.
We've devolved to drinking beer on a trail in We've devolved to drinking beer in a trail on Florida and saying it's hard. So if that's what the assault force is, you can have it.
Hey, is there any way that this would have not been hard? Do you think he would have ever came back?
Well, no.
And said,
if him
"What
and
now?"
Noah both came through with this and were like, well, that was kind of easy, they'd be like, well, it ain't going to be when we tell it.
Listen, this is how the ride home went. No, I know that wasn't that bad, man, but we got to talk about this like it was a serious deal.
Oh no, it was hard. I promise you, it was hard. So all that being said, I will continue to do things to challenge you guys as viewers and inspire you guys and create awesome content for you guys to watch and learn from. I'll continue to do those things. I'm dedicated to that. That's what I do.
Up next is a 2,000-mile car ride in my Land Cruiser.
But
Call that an endurance drive.
You guys don't forget the people behind the scenes like Blake and Chili. And even though they're not really doing anything that's really difficult or challenging, they are part of making all this happen. So you guys, you viewers, don't forget that, okay? So send them a thank you. They need that. They need a thank you for what they actually do. So
Well, are you done bloviating?
Yeah, I guess that's the show today. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week.
Back to it. We did it today.
Well, this was kind of a special episode recapping the race, you know. So, any other questions from YouTube?
We had a super chat, $2. AJC and Sons Forge.
Well, thank you.
He said he'd like to send Chad a handmade knife because he's the coolest guy ever, and he just does really hard things, and just a big inspiration. Asked for our P.O. box, so I'll just put it out here on the live P.O. box.
AJC?
Yeah, AJC and Sons Forge.
He said Chad was the
Thank
coolest
you so
guy
much,
ever.
brother.
He didn't say all that, but I added that. But
I was fixing to say you need to, if you make him a handmade knife, you need to make it where he can open it without the use of another pocket knife because
Yeah,
he's
that's true.
He has no use of his hands right now. So
our P.O. box, AJC and Sons, if you want to send one, is P.O. Box 301, Aragon, Georgia, zip code 30104.
Well, I'll finish up this podcast just to share with you guys what I read in Scripture this morning, because you guys, I think you guys enjoy hearing from Scripture, which I love. I was just reading in Hebrews this morning, and it's interesting to think about what was the point in God, the creator of the universe, coming down to the earth and being in human flesh? It's interesting to think about, why did that have to happen, right? And Paul, I think, explains it beautifully in Hebrews chapter 2. You should go and read the whole chapter when you get a chance. And I'll read that to you, and we'll just talk through it for just a minute. In verse 16, it says, "For verily he," that's Jesus Christ, God in flesh, "took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham," man, flesh. "Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren," us, human beings, "that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself hath suffered being tempted, he is able to aid them," that's us, "that are being tempted." The reason that God took on human form in the body, being Jesus Christ here on earth, is so that he could truly know and understand, if you want to say understand, but truly know and go through the same temptation to sin that we as humans go through. And having that human experience as God in flesh, having that human experience allows him to be the ultimate high priest and the one that has mercy on us, literally makes intercession for us in forgiving us for the sins that we live in and commit here in this human experience. God relates to humanity. Jesus relates to humanity on a whole nother level because he was human for a span of time. That's why it worked out that way. And I think Paul just sums it up beautifully in Hebrews, but I think it's a weird concept when you do ask yourself that question, why did God take on human flesh? It's because he wanted to experience the same temptations that we experience as humans in the flesh. As he became our high priest, he can literally relate to the day-to-day life and temptation that every human experiences. That's pretty daggone cool. That's pretty cool. Come up with a better thing than that. I'd like to hear it. That's your scripture for today. Anybody else got anything?
I'm good.
Well, screw you guys then. Enough said.